Canada approves 834,010 new temporary resident applications. Canada has approved a significant 834,010 new temporary resident applications, reflecting its continued commitment to welcoming international visitors, workers, and students. This video highlights Canada's growing role as a global destination for talent and opportunity. If you are interested in this topic, please pay attention and watch the video through to the end to get all the information. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. In the first 3 months of 2025, Canada approved 834,010 temporary resident applications and extensions, including study permits, work permits, and visitor visas. According to data from Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, this unprecedented influx reflects Canada's ongoing commitment to welcoming international talent and visitors. However, the surge comes with a paradox. While new temporary residents are welcomed, some existing residents face longer processing times and removal notices, highlighting tensions in Canada's immigration system. This video dives into the latest IRCC statistics, explores the top source countries, and unpacks the implications of these trends for Canada's economy, society, and global image. A breakdown of Canada's immigration surge in 2025. From January to March 2025, IRCC approved 834,010 temporary resident applications, a figure that includes both new applications and extensions. This robust volume underscores Canada's appeal as a hub for education, work, and tourism. Here's a detailed breakdown of the approvals by category. Study permits, 96,015 approvals, reflecting Canada's status as a top destination for international students seeking world-class education at designated learning institutions. These permits are issued to foreign nationals studying for 6 months or more at approved institutions, with a significant portion transitioning to permanent residency through pathways like the post-graduation work permit program. Work permits, 186,805 approvals, driven by programs like the Temporary Foreign Worker Program and the International Mobility Program. These permits cater to industries facing labor shortages, such as healthcare, agriculture, and technology, aligning with Canada's economic priorities. Visitor visas, 273,990 approvals, showcasing Canada's appeal as a tourist destination. Visitor visas, or temporary resident visas, are issued to individuals from visa-required countries, often for tourism, family visits, or business purposes. Additionally, IRCC finalized 159,200 study permit applications, including extensions, and 396,000 work permit applications, including extensions, during the same period, indicating a high volume of processing activity. However, the total number of applications processed, new and extensions, reached 1,370,400, suggesting that not all processed applications were approved. This gap reflects IRCC's rigorous screening processes to ensure admissibility and eligibility under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. Top source countries, a global snapshot. The diversity of Canada's temporary resident applicants mirrors its multicultural ethos. The top 10 source countries for temporary resident applications processed by IRCC from January to March 2025 are: 1. India, 382,055 applications processed, with a significant portion attributed to study permits and work permits. India remains the leading source country, driven by its large student population and skilled workforce seeking opportunities in Canada's tech and healthcare sectors. 2. Nigeria, 104,835 applications, reflecting growing interest in Canadian education and job opportunities, particularly in provinces like Ontario and British Columbia. 3. People's Republic of China, 100,890 applications, with a strong presence in the international student program and tourism sectors. 4. Mexico, 59,305 applications, bolstered by Canada's free trade agreements and seasonal worker programs like the TFWP. 5. Iran, 49,735 applications, driven by students and professionals seeking opportunities in Canada's academic and economic landscape. 6. Philippines, 48,430 applications, with many applicants pursuing work permits in caregiving and hospitality sectors. 7. Ukraine, 33,110 applications, reflecting Canada's ongoing support for Ukrainians through temporary measures like the Canada-Ukraine Transitional Assistance Initiative. 8. Pakistan, 31,355 applications, with a mix of students and workers contributing to Canada's diverse workforce. 9. Colombia, 27,165 applications, primarily in study and work permit categories. 10. Bangladesh, 27,080 applications, with a growing number of students and temporary workers. These figures highlight Canada's global appeal, with applicants from Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Eastern Europe driving the temporary resident influx. The data also reflects IRCC's efforts to balance economic needs with humanitarian commitments, such as supporting Ukrainians fleeing conflict. The paradox: welcoming newcomers while enforcing departures. While Canada approves thousands of new temporary residents, it simultaneously faces challenges in managing its existing temporary resident population. IRCC has signaled a goal to reduce the temporary resident share to 5% of Canada's population by 2026, a target that involves stricter enforcement of visa conditions and deportations for those who overstay or fail to comply with IRPA regulations. Recent reports indicate that some temporary residents already in Canada are receiving notices to leave, particularly those whose permits have expired or who have violated conditions, such as working or studying without authorization. The Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations, updated in February 2025, grant IRCC and Canada Border Services Agency officers explicit authority to cancel temporary resident documents, e.g., TRVs, ADAs, work permits, and study permits, in cases of fraud, inadmissibility, or failure to leave by the end of the authorized stay. This enforcement push contrasts with the high volume of new approvals, creating a complex narrative. On one hand, Canada welcomes skilled workers, students, and visitors to bolster its economy and cultural diversity. On the other, it enforces strict compliance to maintain the integrity of its immigration system, which some critics argue creates uncertainty for temporary residents hoping to transition to permanent residency. Policy shifts and economic impacts. The 2025 to 2027 Immigration Levels Plan, announced on October 24, 2024, marks a significant shift by including targets for temporary residents for the first time. The plan sets caps at 673,650 new temporary resident arrivals in 2025, decreasing to 516,600 in 2026 and 543,600 in 2027. These targets exclude short-term visitors and seasonal workers but focus on study and work permit holders. The inclusion of temporary resident targets reflects Canada's response to housing shortages, labor market pressures, and public concerns about immigration levels. Economically, temporary residents play a vital role. International students contribute billions to Canada's economy through tuition fees and living expenses, while temporary workers fill critical gaps in sectors like healthcare, agriculture, and construction. Visitor spending boosts tourism, a key driver of GDP. However, the high volume of newcomers has strained housing and public services, prompting IRCC to implement measures like study permit caps, a 10% reduction in study permit applications for 2025 compared to 2024, with a cap of 606,250 applications processed in 2024 as a benchmark. Post-graduation work permit reforms, tighter eligibility to align with labor market needs, prioritizing in-demand fields like health and trades. Work permit restrictions, changes to open work permits for spouses of international students and workers, effective January 21, 2025, limiting eligibility to specific high-demand occupations. These measures aim to balance economic growth with sustainable immigration levels, addressing concerns about housing affordability and unemployment. The plan is expected to result in a marginal population decline of 0.2% in 2025 and 2026, followed by 0.8% growth in 2027, reducing the housing supply gap by approximately 670,000 units by 2027. Challenges and criticisms. The surge in temporary resident approvals has sparked debate. Stakeholders, including business leaders and immigrant service providers, support managed immigration but emphasize the need for clarity in policy changes. A 2024 IRCC consultation revealed mixed opinions, with 44% of respondents deeming the 2025 permanent resident targets about right, while others expressed concerns about infrastructure strain. Critics argue that the simultaneous approval of new residents and deportation notices creates confusion and undermines Canada's image as a welcoming nation. The reduction in temporary resident volumes has also raised concerns in sectors reliant on foreign workers, such as agriculture and hospitality, where labor shortages persist. Additionally, international students face challenges with rising living costs and stricter language requirements, potentially deterring future applicants. On the other hand, supporters of the policy argue that stricter enforcement ensures fairness and prevents abuse of the immigration system. The focus on transitioning temporary residents already in Canada to permanent residency. Over 40% of 2025 permanent resident admissions will come from this group aims to leverage existing talent while reducing external pressures. Balancing opportunity and sustainability. Canada's approval of over 834,000 temporary resident applications in Q1 2025 reflects its enduring appeal as a global destination. However, the simultaneous enforcement of departures and reduction targets signals a shift toward a more managed immigration system. As IRCC balances economic growth, humanitarian commitments, and public concerns, the coming years will test Canada's ability to maintain its reputation as a welcoming yet sustainable destination. For those dreaming of studying, working, or visiting Canada, the path remains open but requires careful navigation of IRCC's evolving policies. As the nation charts its immigration future, one thing is clear: Canada's story is one of diversity, opportunity, and resilience. The approval of 834,010 new temporary resident applications underscores Canada's ongoing dedication to attracting global talent, supporting economic growth, and fostering cultural diversity. As the country continues to open its doors to workers, students, and visitors, these numbers reflect a broader strategy to strengthen international ties and meet evolving labor market needs. That is all for today, in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later, in the next video. Till then, take care.